Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to that for a long time. And now, something else I'm looking forward to. It was a nice surprise when Abraham said he was going to bring Greg down with him from Dallas. Thanks for coming. Greg Brownderville is the author of A Horse with Holes in It, Deep Down in the Delta, and Gust. At SMU in Dallas, he serves as Associate Professor of English, Director of Creative Writing, and editor of the Southwest Reviews.
Well, thank y'all for having me, and thanks to Malvern Books for doing so much to get poetry out there into the world. We greatly appreciate it, and it's good to see some old friends here tonight. I would like to start by reading a poem from A Horse with Holes in It called A Prayer to Isis. The fact is that I live in a blur of night. The reason is that I frequent Midtown Lounge, the Poets Pub. The thing is during the 1990s, millions of Americans took to using the double is. Our grandfolks in their gliders thought the world had caught a stutter. The secret is launched from Midtown, some radicals' quaint syntactivism, which grew into a sex scandal. Now, terrified of feeling truthless, ruthless men play holy men. The mask with a knife, your wicked twin, tries not to hear the wind's ecstatic moan, or feel the beautiful lust in a belly dance of desert. Tonight, our table mocked a kid for mentioning inspiration. One poetess did a spoof. It's like, the page is my holy wife, yeah? And she gives birth to a chubby, ugly, perfect little poem. I look down and wonder whether I was even involved, yeah? I gawk like Joseph gawked at the little swaddling Jesus, is you is or is you ain't my baby. Our look-butt specialist, Candy Allen Sotheby, stays angry at the greats, Shakespeare, Dickinson, Yeats. Activist poet Janet Wayne stays angry too. For her, for now, it's all about eco. Earlier tonight she said, the truth is poets ought to write about nothing but fricking fracking till it stops. Oh, Janet, Candy said, using verse the way you do is like holding up an ancient vase to shield your town from missiles. Zoning out, I wandered into a memory, into a stormy boyhood day. The rusted yellow glider, blown over in high winds, looked like a man, face down in pain or prayer. The point is I remembered, and I remember remembering, there might just be a me. Having cigs and swigs with Candy, I said, our crew has never gotten the hang of the world. We don't even have our own suffering. You want to suffer? Candy asked. I'd rather enjoy, I said, but I don't, do you? I enjoy Midtown. To me, I confess, it's hell, deprived of its dignity. Dignity? The dignity of agony, I said. Sometimes Dante was such a genius, he blurted out. Everybody knows it. No one can deny it. Let's all just jack off to the fact that Dante was such a genius. From there, I got destroyed on Makers. Candy stuffed me into his car and pointed it toward my house. At the end of life's rope, reach for the hem of his robe. When do you know postmodern indeterminacy is itself absolute? Asked Candy. When the advice on a church sign ends with a question mark. Falling rock. Falling rock? Candy shouted. WT fuck, is that a good idea? Whose genius notion was it to build a road in the middle of a goddamn avalanche? Ours. It felt good to imagine the cliff space crumbling down upon us like bitter laughter. After Candy dropped me off, I looked up at a spear of stars, then staggered inside to be sick alone. See that robot-looking trash bin? It ate my upside-down volcano head. The lava scorched my throat, and now, to drop an old-time eggcorn, I've got me a horse in my voice. It's technically tomorrow. Goddess, where have you gone? 4 a.m, quiet, dark, my spirit body ripped apart and littering the land. I think this might be me, suffering. Are you there, sister? Sister, are you there? This is called Art in Heaven. Fishermen lift their question marks from the lake in sudden rain. The clean horizon line, a perfect moon, and its reflection make an obelisk, a great division sign. By the shore, I walk this glistening road alone, singing against the wind's delirious keening of the glad primal ion. Divine breath, by wizardry of words, gave life to man to complicate the tale. In the beginning was poetry, then God invented death. There were shadows, there were shivering and prayer. Tatterdemalions crammed inside a cave, we smelled of our kill and richly of our maker. The firelight deemed us lovely, fit to save. I could reforest Eden with a phrase, declare the curse of honeysuckle law, he thought, but easy mercy would have marred his poem, and he refused to compromise, too proud to play the deus ex machina. How can I save my creatures and my art? My God, I feel him live, I feel him die. Arrows of rain. A lightning claw takes hold of a leafless tree to shake hands in the sky. Some strange white thing, as if the gush of road were a gentle river, makes a mad descent through blue-gray light and crashes, bleeds, transforms. Gravity panicked at the pavement's edge. The bird is a book flapping in the wind. Tomorrow, crazed black flies will come in swarms, characters loose and hungry for a page. This is called After a Sunday Morning Visit. My grandma had a clothesline that was on the line between her yard and my family's when I was growing up. And after she passed away, our family took most of them down. But the whole time I was learning to drive, I had to, when I was backing out of my parents' house, I had to watch those clothesline poles because you could easily back into them. And after my grandma passed away and the posts were taken down one day, I was leaving home, and I was still kind of, watching behind me, and my daddy caught me, and he looked over at me. I rolled my window down, and he smiled at me. He said, "Buddy, I still dodge them all the time." And after that, I wrote this poem. My grandmother, too, Mama, lived right there, a clothesline from my parents. I remember tees of cedar, taut wire, and swatting laundry. In trucks and cars, many thousands of times, I've backed out awkwardly to miss the posts. I guess I've even done it since she died, and they were plucked from the earth. Done it by force of habit, until today, when suddenly it's ritual. Suddenly it's this. As mosquito hawks hover above my car, two Mama and her son, my Uncle Vance, appear in the drive, ghosts, or tricks of memory, a simple scene, their easy grins, those rugged posts that stood for half a century on this mangy lawn. I remember coke-top shooters, crude weapons me and Uncle Vance made out of clothespins, boards, and rubber bands. Mine was painted red. When mosquito hawks lit on the line, we'd launch our mini flying saucers, magical logos, and watch them zoom toward our prey. Vance, right beside me, like we were brothers, like he was still a child and spring could last. To him, the clothesline must have seemed both curse and blessing. I was grown before Two Mama told me that as a kid, he'd back up to a cedar post's dark wood and play like he was Christ. That was before he lost God and stopped singing. The crucifix came true as I dreamed his boy hands hanging. Back then, she said, he had good gospel lungs and sang so you could feel his soul and feel that latter rain. His fear about no sin shall enter into heaven woke a wailing lonesome in his songs. Listening, I tried to dream his voice to life and make it light up like a tavern's neon. She said he dunked Old Blue in a wash tub over and over. I baptize you in the name of God the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost till the dog drowned. He buried Blue in soft dirt beneath the glowing plums, dirt that kept arrowheads like secrets and knew the way from Coley's ribbon cane down to Gum Pond. Vance was 8. He crushed a dog's neck and felt the fight go out again and again in dreams. At 8, I ran nose first through sun-fresh linen, a blur of boys so new. In the bright of the day I ran. The wind was time, and time the matador who never drew. For all was one bright present, nothing cost. When my uncle died, it was me strangling Blue in nightmares. Vance, a disembodied voice in my ear. I crossed the cross, going home to hell at 33 because I blasphemed Jesus Christ. In a recurring dream, I see him walk up to a giant tree. I smile and say, "This oak gives the best shade, like an air-conditioned room." But he can't see or hear me as he lies down in the cool green light and whistles Heaven's Jubilee. His shirtless chest dries out and turns to soft white loam. When I kneel beside him, his red beard becomes an anthill, ants coming to a boil. I took the clothesline down 3 years ago, but spared a wooden tee. Spared it even though it blocked the drive and looked like it was going back to tree, lichens and birds' nests. It survived on sun, arms wide to the weather, survived patiently until I dug it out and burned it one still morning late last year. Didn't want to, but I couldn't bear to see it fall on its own. I throw my arm around the passenger seat like we're buds, look behind me, cut the angle just right. When dearest facts no longer live in muscle memory, this is what's left, the forcing it, relearning, returning. Soon, I reckon, I won't see the ghosts, and the ghosts won't see me. We'll end this trouble. But soon's not here. Rough cedar cross, decrepit welcomer, I'm missing you this morning. While I'm reading poems about gospel singing, I'll read this book called Honest Gospel Singing. When I was a kid, I went to church. I sang in church. From the time I was 12, I did a special every Sunday. And often, when the preacher preached, I nodded yes, like a boat motor bobbing down the highway toward the lake. My fancier companions took me to the lake in high school and college. I remember floating tipsy, grazing bridges with fingertips. I remember picnics on the party barge and being a helpful kid, twisting lids off jars. I remember some of my life. But last night, home for the first time in a long time, when I walked into my dark boyhood bedroom, I was slapping blind. My hand didn't know where the light switch was anymore. And this morning in church, when the preacher asked me to sing, I rose quietly and walked to the front, slow, like a spooky old man through a kindergarten classroom, there to learn with the other children how to sound things out. And though I started all right, the second verse wouldn't come home to me. I muttered melodically, nonsense syllables. But the people broke out in tongues. They wept and said some mystery words like Shandai, seconding my gibberish with God's because they know honest gospel singing when they hear it. This is called Walking in Memphis. Woke up this morning in Memphis, no memories to my name, of my name, or how I got here. Wandered into a boutique bar and gallery. They had some metal bottle trees for sale. A bluesman named T. Model Ford jangled and moaned and talked of Mississippi. He said to his bandmates, to the crowd, to humankind, T. Model Ford is fixing to remember you sorry fuckers how it's done. I stepped out and stopped below a disfigured real tree and asked some air named Lord to lead me home. I didn't get an answer other than the air, the prayer itself. I was wearing a black and gold sweater I must have thrifted, ugly as homemade sin, but it gave me the power of bumble flight, so I clumsily climbed the air. Got so high I started laughing and couldn't stop. The roadways down below looked like the torso and parted thighs of a crime scene chalk drawing. Silver skyline, river mirrored, made of keys teeth. I hovered and buzzed above the flowery clouds. Got bored though, and eased back down to the ground. The street was color overload, busy boulevard, boulevard of lovelies. Still buzzing a little and swigging from my flask, I drew weird looks from shoppers, gallants made for magazines, and sleek, chic ladies, expensive bags the shape of padlocks on their arms. Got so drunk I felt like I was working a Rubik's Cube with my eyeballs. I bumbled into Steak and Shake for no apparent reason. Heard a plump, overdressed man say to another plump, overdressed man, "It is simply a fact that a Memphis salesman named Robert E. Lee does $2 million of revenue a year in the black hair care industry, which, incidentally, is dominated by the damn Koreans. Google it." I ordered neither steak nor shake. I stumbled onto Beale Street. Some crazos held up signs. "God hates fags. Fags doom nations." A pack of wafers 20-somethings came with signs of their own. "Dogs love figs. Bats are birds." I thought about the falling barns a few miles out of town, their doors, unopened envelopes from the past, or rebel flags just waiting for their blues and stars and Hank Williams Jr. grins. There came a sudden madness of gray, shushing rain as though the world had gone to static. Beale Street was a silver river you could drown in. I started to hallucinate. Floods, levees, fields. Walked a wall of dirt between the river and the rice. Spied a face at my feet. An old sharecropper, neck deep in Beale. I knew him, but wasn't sure how. He grinned up at me. There were sandbags strewn about. He used his hand to rake dirt into a bag, then pushed it into the water and kicked it into the levee down below. "Plugging muskrat holes," he chirped, "to keep the water off my rice. God honors work." And the water rose to his mustache, and the water went over his head. He stood there, rooted, never took his eyes off mine, staring at me from below the wavery surface till he was good and dead. And still he stared. I wobbled to my knees. I felt as melty as I must have looked to the old man's dying eyes. But then the levee was only the sidewalk, the river only the street, the tourists still the tourists, and I was drawing looks. I feel I had a family once. The dead man was our friend. I can't remember. Tiny teeth and claws come scraping at the inside of my skull first thing in the morning and last thing at night, and nobody on this earth knows who I am. Okay, this poem is called Folly. You know, when people find out that you are a writer, or certainly if they find out you're an English teacher, they will say something about, "Oh, don't judge my grammar," and you get this over and over. And it's so funny to me because I am not a correctness monger. Like, I enjoy mistakes, my own and other people's, and I think sometimes mistakes have little seeds of genius in them. It makes me think about my brother, to whom I dedicated this book, my brother Eric, who's a beautiful musician and a wonderful soloist on guitar. And I asked him one time, I said, "Eric, when you're up there improvising in front of a crowd and you hit a wrong note, what do you do?" And he said, "Hit it again." So in the spirit of that comment, I read this poem called Folly, which has an epigraph, "And God saw everything that he had made." The author, this poem has a character named Abraham who is nothing like our friend Abraham Smith. The author of 2 books at 29, Abraham gave a talk near Charleston when I lived in her swank slums, lost, but okay with being not okay. We lounged at the beach till dusk. He marked exams while folks all around us gathered their things in the last cast of sun and coaxed their sandy-legged kids away. The only texts read by these fools I teach are their illiterate comrades' messages. Intoned Professor A. Listen to this. Grandma knows best, as Flannel O'Donnell states in A Hard Man is Good to Find. Yeats goes crazy with the second C-U-M-M-I-N-G. The poet Thomas Gray alludes to pain in his short story known as Allergy in a Country Churchyard. That's brilliant, I said, going in a poem. Just a bad sentence. Don't get carried away. Bad, brilliant. Sometimes it's a blurry line. You don't know what you're doing until it's done. Poets play, Abe explained. The scholar has to mind the basics. Voltage in his voice from hours of bickering. Gone quiet, I revisited a childhood memory verse, earthquakes in divers places. The man who taught me Sunday school said, think about it, boys and girls. They had 3 earthquakes last July in California. Rest assured there's divers bailing off bridges, cliffs, and God knows what out there, like stars are shooting through the daylight. Which sparked another memory of the college class in which Abe and I had met. To engage our groggy brains, the young instructor rose, armed with his NIV, and all but sang a passage. Next to me, a wizened preacher cracked her King James and squinted at the page. What all does David carry when he goes to fight Goliath? We were asked. A sling, Abe answered, and some rocks, 5 for good measure. And scrip, the preacher added. That's short for scripture. The teacher praised her vision and insisted she tell us all about it. Not to intrude, intruded Abe, but let me help the Reverend. Scrip is the King James word for pouch or satchel. I said inside as an unbroken wave reared up, white, messy mane, audacious head. Meaning controls chief officers pretend they don't pretend. Their world is right, it's factual. But as for me and my heart, we will love our faults and legends and let those divers dive. Reading the vellum sky, Abe said, I hoped you'd scored an adult role by now and dropped this poet pose. He stood, folded his chair. It's getting sad. The director of the Cosmos had spoken. End your private play. Cut, cut. Because I wouldn't work within a script, bound at the top with concertina wire and do my sentence. No funds, he said, no house, no rules, an artiste. Sent here to write and not be written. He turned to go. Good luck with that. As night sank in, one boy came back to dance the shore, all flapping hair and flitting hands, seraphs upon the sky. One mako leapt and curled mid-air, apostrophe-like. Why had I quietly watched my fee-fi-fo escape as if a sheep drifting across a fence? Oh, magic school, reclaim the gap he stripped of whimsical meaning. My inner harpist vowed, give me 5 iams good and hard. I'll drop that Philistine with basics from the script. Well, it is an honor to read with Abraham Smith, who read last night at SMU brilliantly and dazzled the audience. And I greatly appreciate this opportunity and thank you all for coming. This will be my last poem, and it is called Welcome to the Old Cathedral. My name is Madison. I'll be your server tonight. I don't know where I am. Where am I? I'm at a Tony restaurant off the square. Crazy rain, trying to bring the stained glass to life. But how silly of me. Of course you know where you are. I know about the restaurant and the rain. Very urgent rain. But where am I? You are here. I want to be there. I'm more of a diner kind of a diner. When I was young, I frequented a diner on a movie set. The director had disappeared and the actors had forgot it wasn't real. I wondered if I wasn't one of them. The owner, Bill, had a weird dog that looked like Benjamin Franklin. Bill and the dog would come and greet me. Fish and chips and a cherry Sprite, I'd say. Faith will be your waitress, Bill would tell me. She'll swing over in a minute to take your order. I'm Madison. I'll be taking care of you tonight. And there was a baby, a diminutive flaneur, wobble walking, all about the set, making a voice noise like a straw fucking a milkshake lid. I'm Madison. I'll be taking care of you tonight. Is it true what they say, Madison? That Michael McDonald and Garth Brooks are playing a secret concert just a few doors down, and Elvis will split the eastern sky at sunrise? For our soup du jour, we'll have our invisible butterfly soul. That's going to come with 7 Australian painted lady souls dissolved in hot holy water tinged with a suspicion of jasmine. It's not that McDonald has gone country, you see. Rather, Garth is doing Blue-Eyed Soul. They're treating the audience to some universal evergreens like Let's Stay Together and Burning Both Ends of the Night. For our special, shh, if you close your eyes you can hear what a fool believes. Michael McDonald singing through his beard. For our special, we have our steamed heart of hummingbird. That's going to be served with a complex reduction of unrequited Gemütlichkeit and transubstantiated red wine. Mad, you aren't listening. Let's go seeing. Let's go being. Roads agush with rivery rain. Lady legs a scamper on the square. Frogs hopping like tiny sparks of apocalypse. Garth Brooks, it's all happening. Can I start you off with the 30th stanza of Keats's The Eve of St. Agnes, whispered by Lee Young Lee into a hearty flapjack scroll? You're right. Nothing's happening. Can I go home? You may go wherever you like. But do I want to go home to the elevator's déjà vu, the mirror's dyslexia? You may go whenever you like. But where? Will I want to go home if the king comes back and no one notices, and the water won't turn to blood, and the dead are busy getting their pH tested by the county extension agent? You may go wherever you like. If I do go home, what then, hummingbird heart? Tell me, Matt, if I go home, will I sit there and smile stupidly like a Charlie Chaplin dog years after the ventriloquist has shelved him, locked out of the cathedral? And decades from my diner, I'll be a non sequitur without the Pringles. You may go whenever, wherever you like. Where did the shamans go, the strange men, with their drums and dreams? I'll be taking care of you tonight. I miss that gal who took care of me at the diner. I miss her bathtub drain stopper necklace, silver beads, white plastic pendant. One time, when Fields of Gold was playing, she looked up at the speakers and said, "Oh, Sting, where is thy death?" I loved her low voice and worshipped the golden calf above each of her roller skates. I miss old Bill and Benjamin Franklin. I miss the wobbling baby, but the set has vanished into desert. Just as noun verb, so too does other noun. I don't understand. Faith will be your waitress. Thank you all. I brought 3 copies of Southwest Review, the journal that I edit, and they're over there on this left side of the table, so feel free to grab copies before you leave.